All right, and we are live. Hey, everybody. This is Derek, author and webmaster of Gematrinator.com. I'm with Zach Hubbard, the author of Letters and Numbers, the book that you can find on Patreon and Etsy. Links down below in the description on this video. And Zach and I were going to be guests on a podcast on a different channel today. But that got canceled, so I figured, hey, why the hell not just go live on my channel? We can talk about some numbers, talk about news by the numbers, maybe chat a little bit about the organic matrix, which, of course, I always like to get into, and, take a look at some of these NFL games. I know we got something going on with the Steelers as well. But, so yeah, Zach, how you doing, man? What's going on?
Another day in paradise.
Certainly is. So, just want you to know the website has been doing really well, much better than normal lately. And about 2 months ago, now granted, I think my stats are compromised, so I have my doubts about how real they are, but they've at least doubled in the last 2 months. So if you go back to the beginning of August and look at my web traffic, it's gone up over 100% since then. So whether or not the numbers are real, I think maybe the percentages still could be. And
Sure.
if those numbers are cut in half like I'm suspicious they are, or maybe even more so, then this work is definitely picking up again. So we've seen the effectiveness of you actually maintaining a YouTube channel for more than a month, or as it was the case for a while, more than like a week. And,
Right.
so it looks like it's paying off in some regards. And it's weird. Like, I complained about my website having problems, and right away, I went from roughly 100 readers a day on my blog to over 400, like overnight, and it's been consistent since. So
Nice.
when they changed my server to maybe fix something, it's like something then messed with the stats, because it doesn't make sense that it would just go up 400% and then, and then stay consistent like that every day. It was really weird, especially since nothing really big happened on October 1st. So we're seeing like specks of censorship still. I know your view counts for a while there were up in the 10,000s, the 5 digits. And of course, now we're not seeing that again. So it's like, they're still stepping down on us, but at least they're letting us have a little bit more of a voice than they were. So thank you for your
Sure.
continued efforts and bringing people to, my website, my work as well. And, glad things are looking up in that regard to this point.
Right. Yeah, the censorship's real, and now that I have a book for sale, it's easier to tell how impactful the censorship is. When um, when I was rolling there for a little bit and getting about 10,000 views per video, the book was selling like hotcakes. And ever since they put me in squash mode and the videos have been averaging between about 2,000 and 4,000 views, the book sales have been cut in more than half. So about accurate with how far down the views are. So it does look like whether the actual view numbers were ever true, it looks like the percentage of how much less traffic they're receiving in the last month is real, because that's the same for the book sales. So
Sure, and there's other things they do too, like suppress alerts, not letting people know when you've gone live or
that's
posted a
the
new
big one.
video. It
That's
seems
the big one that they're doing right there, because almost everybody's commenting like, "I haven't been getting any alerts for your video for like a month." And I'm like, "Yep, I think that's true for almost everybody here, which is why the views are way down." So
right, and I see a couple comments in that regard too. People saying they don't get notifications, and that's pretty typical. I mean, you basically have to refresh the page really to
you just got to
100%.
check in, like make it part of your daily routine to see if this person has any new content. So
Yeah, and for me especially with live streaming, I don't do it with any sort of schedule, and there's just too much going on for me to be consistent every week and getting out on the same day and spending 2-3 hours online. So it's a challenge, but the more content, the better. And to keep putting out as much as you do, obviously, it's helping. So the channel's continued to grow. Um, so yeah, let's look at the post that you linked me to earlier. I guess we'll start there. Since you're on my channel, here we're talking about the mathematics of the circle, something that I focus a lot of my work on in an attempt to prove to people once and for all that, yes, the English language is built on Gematria, and it's logically done, and it's mostly done in the alphabetic order, which has always been the challenge from so many critics, is that we're using multiple methods. But I think, what we've discovered over time is really, really concrete. So here we are with Ryan Shazier. What number was Shazier? Do you remember?
50, the circle number.
He is number 50.
Yep.
That's what I thought I remembered. Number 50. Steelers summing to 50. Reverse reduction.
Same with Pittsburgh. Pittsburgh and Steelers are both 50 in the base ciphers.
Yep. So he's number 50. And of course, the word circle equals 50. And in Jewish Gematria, the circle has a numeric value of 50, the letter O.
Huh. Yeah, that's right.
So Shazier has this suspicious spine injury. I remember seeing it. It didn't look quite as bad as a lot of the ones I've seen before. So at the time, it kind of stood out as possibly being fake. And they had 11:14 on the clock, which is a number related to ritual sacrifice. That's coded in frequently. 11 times 14 is 154. So 314 days later, Ryan Shazier back on the field. So he's not playing yet, but he's walking. And from December 4th to the date of today's game, 314 days.
Right. And what jumped out about that right away to me is yesterday when I was doing the sports decode, I pointed out that Ben Roethlisberger could become 22-7 against the Bengals. Shazier was hurt against the Bengals last year. And today's Roethlisberger's 227th day of his age, 36. And I know you do a lot of work with 666 in the circle, 666, 36 triangular number. Here we are in the lone 666 month. So it's a really perfect ritual, and it just goes to show just how scripted it all is. Last year we were pointing out how Ryan Shazier's injury was perfectly synced with the date of the Super Bowl. And now here it is perfectly synced with the late comeback win by the Steelers over the Bengals. They won in the closing seconds. It looked like they'd lost, and then they won it with a miracle touchdown. And lo and behold, the final score is 28-21, 49 combined points. Again, Roethlisberger, it's his 227th day of his age. He became 22-7 against the Bengals. 227 is the 49th prime. The word mathematics has Gematria 49. And the word number, they won with 28 points, 28-21. The word number has that Gematria 28. 6 letters in the word number, Gematria 28 in our most pure cipher. The first two perfect numbers, 6 and 28. So major mathematic pi tributes, and just one more example for the collection box of how relevant that code is. So
yeah, absolutely. And here you see on the screen March 2nd, Roethlisberger's birthday, to today's date, a span of 227 days. 22 divided by 7, 314. The number of degrees in a circle, 360, has that value of 227. And like you said, 666, the 36 triangular number. Ben Roethlisberger currently 36 years old, and there was the Jewish value of mathematics of the circle, which seems incredibly coded. So, yeah, this is what they're using, and I think our suspicions were true about Shazier. Oh, and of course, as far as 227 goes, once again, like Zach said, that's the 49th prime number. The game finished with 49 points.
Let's not forget Steelers also sums to 49 in the same cipher that mathematics does. That's the reduction cipher where you take into account the numerology of S being 10. You can S that special letter, the 19th letter, you got to reduce it 2 times to get it to a single digit. So it can be 10 or 1. But, yeah, just a very, very mathematically perfect ritual. And it just, I mean, for people to think that Shazier's injury is real, I knew it wasn't the day it happened. The way how it perfectly synced with the Super Bowl. Ryan Shazier's name equals 63 forwards and backwards in our 2 reduction-based ciphers. It was a span of 63 days from the Super Bowl. If you don't count the span, it was 62 days before the Super Bowl. The Steelers have the record, the Super Bowl record for the best win record of 6 wins and 2 losses. And they were once merged with the Eagles. They used to be the Steagles. And, of course, the Eagles won the Super Bowl, defeating the Patriots, keeping Tom Brady from matching that record of 6 wins and 2 losses. So the other half of the Steelers, if you will, the Eagles, preserved the record. And Shazier's sacrifice on the field, if you will, was the clear riddle for what was to come.
Yeah, absolutely. And in that game, in the Super Bowl this year, it was basically partially a tribute to the U.S. flag and that Steagles team. It was 74 years before that Super Bowl that they played as the Steagles, and there were 74 points scored in the Super Bowl as well.
That's right, 41-33, and Super Bowl equals 41. So, little too perfect.
So let's talk about Jim Taylor. So this is a famous fullback from up in my neck of the woods, the old state of Wisconsin here. And Jim Taylor, dead at age 83. The first thing I want to point out is his full name, James Charles Taylor, sums to 205 alphabetic order. And the date that he died, October 13th, also sums to 205. They also share reduction gematria, 88, the S exception. So what I noticed is that it's funny because I just decoded Gene Wilder's death earlier in this same channel, and he died at age 83 years and 79 days. Well, here, Jim Taylor has died at 83 years on the date that leaves 79 days in the calendar. And the word murder has gematria of both 79 ordinal and 83 reverse.
Right.
So he's dead at age 83. His date of birth, 9 plus 20 plus 19 plus 35, this also sums to 83. Now he's dead at age 83. The word football equals 83. And 83, the 23rd prime number, fullback equals 23, and he's dead 23 days after his 83rd birthday. In reduction,
on 10-13.
in reduction, football equals 29, and he also had double birth numerology of 29. Go back to the 13. What was it about that?
Oh, well, so again, 83 is the 23rd prime. He died 23rd days after his birthday, 23 days after. 10 plus 13, the day he died, has the 23 connection. And then with regards to the 13 alone, where the Packers play Lambeau Field with the alphabetic order, sums to 91. 91's the 13th triangular number. And when you flip the alphabetic order around, Lambeau Field's 233, the 13th Fibonacci number. And then dead on the 13th. And also 113 days before the Super Bowl, the big Scottish number. There's just a million riddles in his death. 10, 13, 18, date with 41 numerology. 41's the 13th prime. Green Bay has the Gematria 41 in our most pure cipher. Of course, NFL is also 13 in the base ciphers. Very clear. Again, Freemasonry credited with American football. These are their numbers. His name, James Taylor, has Gematria of 139, like Freemasonry, like Green Bay. And Green Bay playing on Monday Night Football this week.
Oh.
The last game that James Taylor ever played in was he was playing for the Saints, and the last game he ever played in was the Saints versus the Redskins, which was also last Monday Night Football game. So, little riddle there, too. The last Monday Night Football teams to play, he participated, again, in a Saints-Redskins game, and now this Monday night is Packers play. So, it reminds me last year, I can't remember what the player's name was, but an old-timer died before Monday Night Football the same day as the game. And the two teams he'd played for were the Rams and the 49ers, and that's who was playing that night. If that wasn't last year, it was 2 seasons ago, but I'll never forget that one. I was like, how do people overlook this? The guy who plays for the Rams and the 49ers, his career dies before they play on Monday Night Football the same day? I mean, come on. So. Oh, And another point, just earlier on October 9th, the day leaving 83 days left in the year, we had 3 football-related death stories in the news. We had the death of the Chargers. He died that day. We had the news of the death of the first black player drafted into the white NFL. They called him the Jackie Robinson of the NFL. He died at age 91. He was drafted by the Chicago Bears 91. Quite a few more riddles with that one. But his death was in the news that day. And then we also got the update on how that high school football player in Georgia died supposedly from cardiac arrest, which is another big Scottish Rite riddle. So whole lot of football and 83 and death news just in the last week. I mean, for anyone to look at all of these stories and just go coincidence, 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 it's
Right.
It's a sad look.
Yeah, very much. You mentioned James Taylor summing to 139, the same as Green Bay, the same as Freemasonry. Today's date has a life lesson number of 34. And, of course, Green Bay, 139, the 34th prime number.
Right.
I also found his age at death very interesting. It's 30,340 days, right? So you have the 34 there, but this 334 number, the inverse of 334 is 433. And his first season in Green Bay was the year after they began playing at Lambeau Field. And Lambeau Field equals 433. The 84th prime number,
Right.
which Green Bay Packers 84, the Green Bay Packers 84, Masonry 84. This might be one of my favorite graphics on my channel is the Packers logo with the G inside the Freemasonic emblem. Because that's kind of how I see it. Like they're this 53-man tribute to Freemasonry every year. We see it over and over.
Right.
The capital G, you were talking about that. In one of our capital letter ciphers, it sums to 13. And in Francis Bacon, it sums to 33. So he's dead on the 13th, and he died a span of 3 weeks and 3 days after his birthday. Of course, Masonry 33 in reduction. The name James 33, reverse reduction. And call me crazy, but there's a tie here to this eclipse crucifixion code through Jim Taylor. And I want people to be wary of this number 123.
Speaking of which, after you say this point, I'm going to tell you what I'm looking at with 123 tomorrow.
Okay. And we can go back and talk about Kanye West too and why he was there. I want to share something with you on that, but Kanye West is this like walking Jesus riddle, and his name sums to 123, alphabetic order. His songs were pulled from the radio earlier this year on the 123rd day of the year.
Huh.
It's one of those crucifixion of Jesus Christ numbers in reduction, 123. We had the rapper XXX Tentacion with the January 23rd birthday, 123. He died 303 weeks before the next American great eclipse. Also, in Jewish Gematria, this phrase, Zach, sums to 2040. This is how many days before the eclipse that Mac Miller died, another rapper dead by the crucifixion code. So, I like this phrase. This is a really interesting one. It's got the 147 in it also. So, Jim Taylor equals 123. His full name, James Charles Taylor, sums to 1230 in Sumerian Gematria. And today's date numerology has a lot of ties to Jesus. It's got 43, which is Jesus Christ in reduction. It's got 61, which is Jesus in reverse. 32 and 41, those are Christ's numbers in reduction. And like you said, Green Bay equals 41 as well. And one thing that I picked up on, because I'm here in Wisconsin, this is one of the more famous sports athletes here, and he's on the Ring of Fame, I think, at Lambeau Field. Everybody knows who Jim Taylor is. Well, there's something else that's going on big in sports in Wisconsin right now, and it's that the Brewers are just a couple games away from potentially making the World Series. So I just glanced at his numbers, and a couple things popped out. It's that Jim Taylor has extended Gematria of 1140, which is the same as Milwaukee Brewers in Sumerian. It's the 114th World Series coming up. The Brewers owner has birth numerology of 114. And he was born the same year that Milwaukee won a World Series, 1957. And Jim Taylor equals 57, just like World Series. Could be nothing. I don't know, but like I said, with Milwaukee suddenly advancing so far in the playoffs, how strange is it that we have a big local athlete die just like a week and a half before the World Series? There's seems logical to be a connection, but that's what I picked up on.
Well, that is a good point. And just looking right there at the World Series and Jim Taylor, they both have the Gematria 57 like moon, and he died on the 13th, like how the moon has the 13 cycles.
Right. And our
For my
M,
Patreon,
we got the M on our hat, the 13th letter,
I'm pretty sure the Astros will win the World Series this year. The thing about the Astros and the Brewers is they're two teams that have switched what leagues they're in. The Astros went from the National to the American.
Yeah.
So, yeah, there was a big clue 57 days before the World Series with the Astros winning 11-4, and they defeated the Athletics, who are one of three teams who've won back-to-back World Series. So I think whoever the Astros face, and it very well might be Milwaukee, I think it's going to be their ball game.
Yeah, I forgot about that. Milwaukee changed leagues back in like '97. I think was the last season that they played in the American League. Was it?
I think they switched to '98. So yeah, that's probably the right year, '97.
They were definitely in the National League in '98 at the latest. But
I think that was the year that they switched. Was '98.
I agree.
That's got, when I think about it, 98 to 2018 is 20 years later, and the word time has the gematria of 20, like how T is the 20th letter of the alphabet, and the cross symbolizes time, so it might make sense for why this ritual would happen 20 years later. But,
So let's go back to, we mentioned Kanye West briefly. I'm sure you got some stuff on him.
Before we do that, just speaking of time and sports, can you go to my blog real quick and load up the tennis post about this tennis tournament that just happened? It'll just take a second to go over it. I just loaded up our YouTube so I can actually see what you're doing on the screen here. Before I was just like pretty much staring at nothing, but now I'm with it.
Okay, so I got your post up.
There about, okay, so let's just go through this real quick because now I can see the screen and what you're looking at. Keep it right there. On October 13th, it was the semifinals for the Shanghai Masters, which is sponsored by Rolex. And think about Rolex time watches. So October 13th is the day leaving 79 days left in the year. And the two men who lost in the semifinals on that day were Alexander Zverev and Roger Federer. They both, I guess you could say their number was up. They both went out on the day leaving 79 days left in the year. And the 13th seed won. That's that... I'm not sure how you pronounce his name, Borna or something like that. But you can see his name has the gematria 47 like time. And then scroll down the page. Djokovic, I don't know if it's on a leg, but...
It is. It's going to be a little bit of a leg, but I'm there, yeah.
Okay, Djokovic also won on that day. He won 144 days after his birthday. And, of course, we know 144 is a big time number. Jewish gematria, the square root of 144... is 12 hours in the morning, the evening, 12 months in the year, 1,440 minutes in a day. Notice the overlap with Rolex and time. A lot of the watch companies, if you ever want to have a fun gematria practice, think of all the watch companies that you can and plunge in their names and just compare it to the gematria time. But go down a little bit more.
That's Shanghai Masters.
And it's sponsored by Rolex. The full name is the Rolex Shanghai Masters. The guy that he beat yesterday on the day leaving 79 days left in the year, you can see that his name in the base cipher also sums to 74 like Rolex. So I think that was a big tell. And I also noticed how Shanghai Masters syncs up with Novak. And this year, here we are, 2018. But he's been dominant at this tournament. So I don't think it's any coincidence why he's having so much success at the Shanghai Masters. But
yeah, very interesting. Yeah, nice catches. Rolex and time, that'll never fail. Anytime there's a watch sponsoring anything, there's going to be a time tribute, 100%.
But I mean, the beauty of this is just by understanding this code, you can always look at sports, and you can just see just how each event is perfectly synced up and scripted. Your live has a green light. Mine never is green. My stream strength is always yellow. So I don't know what the deal is with mine.
Because you're out there in the wilderness, Zach.
That could be why. I have a pretty high-speed internet, though. It's even higher speed than where I was back when I was in Seattle. So
Have you tested your upload speed recently?
it's even faster than when I was in Seattle. So it's pretty speedy.
Okay, interesting. Because yeah, I mean, well, I don't remember if you live streamed from Seattle, but it shouldn't. If it's better, then you shouldn't have any problems streaming.
Yeah, I'm waiting for the days of the green light, but
They step on your balls where they can.
yeah. So
All right. So
I see
we
people
had
having fun
what's
with
up?
the name Djokovic in the chat. Chigozi's here and many others.
Right on. So we had Kanye West in the news today, and this is probably like one of the biggest things he's ever done. Kanye West in the flippin' White House. And it's funny, Saturday Night Live had a sketch recreating this, but it occurred to me why Saturday Night Live mostly sucks now. It's because all the writers are now writing the real news for CNN, Fox News, MSNBC, and then SNL just recreates what happened and then just does it in a lighter tone. It's like nothing's different. It's the same shit. So yeah, this is how reality works now here. Donald Trump, the president, talking to Kanye West about, I don't know. I saw him showing him a picture of a plane at some point. It was like, what are they doing? But again, it's all numeric ritual. And it totally supports the idea that Kanye West is this walking numeric Jesus Christ riddle.
Sure, of course.
The funniest
I'm sure
thing...
you see the stuff with his Yandi album that's supposed to come up.
Yandi?
You don't know about this?
Oh, man.
Here, before you go to this, just go to my blog and search Yandi, Yandhi. Let's just go through the Yandi album first, and then come up to this to further cement the point. Yeah, Yandi, Yeezus, Jesus, they all have the same gematria as Jesus, and syncing up with the date numerology of that statue there in Hollywood, February 22nd, 2017, a date with 61 numerology. Yandhi is how it is.
Okay, so I got to search it because I can't.
You probably have to search in the top left bar, because I've probably buried it with so many posts since then. But in that top left, if you type in...
Yeah, it's there. I see it.
Okay.
Okay, I see. So, Yandi... All right, let me just punch this in so we can all look.
There it is right there.
Yandi 61 and 34. That's the same as Jesus 61 and 34 in reverse.
And now so the album for Yandi was already supposed to come out. It was going to come out September 29th, the day leaving 93 days left in the year, like Crucifix, God's Son, Nazareth. But then he pushed the release date back to November 23rd, which is a date with 34 numerology. It's also the day leaving 38 days left in the year, like Cross and Rapper. So
he has birth numerology of 38.
Yeah, June 8th. And June 8th also connects with the word crucifix or crucifixion, one of those two words. But it's just undeniable what they're doing. And again, you got to be a hardcore coincidence theorist to look at something like how his statue came out on a date with 61 numerology and all those other 61s. And let's not forget that 61 is the 18th prime number. And here we are in 18, where his new name is Yandi. So, yeah, I just wanted to put that there. You can move on with what you were going to say. I just wanted to make sure everybody knew about the Yandi.
I just wanted to get the shirt on screen, the coincidence theorist.
Oh, nice,
shirt.
man.
Yeah.
Very nice.
Yeah, so I got to look deeper in that. But, going back to that crucifix statue ritual, it's just hilarious. Like, even the phrase crucifix statue has the same gematria as Kanye Omari West in 3 of 4 base methods. And then
sacrifice number 2.
Of course, yeah. The 199, the 46 prime, sacrifice 46.
179 right there. The 41st prime. Christ has the gematria of 41.
No, that's right.
199. Yeah, all sorts of things there.
And then you got Kanye Omari West, 1721, which sums to the same as Hollywood, California, 1721. That's where the crucifix statue was. And I did cover this in my, my stream earlier, but the big part of the riddle is this, right? I mean, Kanye West has this Jewish gematria, 1551. Kanye equals 1551 in the reduction methods. But the name Jesus Christ equals 151 in the alphabetic order. And the crucifix statue was 15 weeks, 1 day before his birthday. He then got bounced off a radio station, 105.1 the bounce.
That's funny.
And when he showed up in the Oval Office, he was exactly 15,100 days old, like 151 with 2 zeros after it. And then the date numerology, similar to what I mentioned with the death of Jim Taylor. There were like a lot of Christ numbers in here. 43, 59. One of my favorite parts about this is that he went with Jim Brown. And if you add Kanye West, Jim Brown, and Gematria, you get 74, like rapper, like Jesus. The date was 10/11. So a date with 3 ones. There's 111 days between the birthdays of
really
Kanye West
to me is
and Jim Brown.
It was a date with 59 numerology, which stood out in a big way in light of Negro slave blues. It was also a date with 39 numerology. The segregation period ended in the year 39. It was 18 weeks from Kanye's birthday. Race equals 18. We just talked about the whole 61 thing with him, the 18th prime. And it was 237 days from Jim Brown's birthday, the prime factorization of 42, 2 times 3 times 7. So it was definitely very racial. Don Lemon, who had his sister killed by the numbers earlier this year on Jackie Robinson's birthday. She drowned in a pond 59. He had this headline. He accused Kanye of doing something that, here it is. It was a new term to me. I was not aware of this term, but Don Lemon called what Kanye did in front of Donald Trump a minstrel show. Maybe you've heard of this before. This was a new one to me. Minstrel show. MINSTREL show. In our most pure of the base ciphers, that sums to 58, like how Donald Trump's the winner of the 58th U.S. presidential election. But when he said that, I had to look up what a minstrel show was because I didn't know. And essentially, it's like, back in the day, the white master would have the black folks, the slaves, do a little ditty for him, a little performance. They called that a minstrel show. And as much as I don't like Don Lemon, and obviously he's a puppet on strings too, that is the way it kind of felt there with Donald Trump behind his desk, kind of gleaming over it, Kanye West making a fool of himself, and Jim Brown just sitting back in his chair silently. But
probably wondering how in the world did I end up here, of all places.
Well, I'm sure he knows. I'm sure Jim Brown knows. It was many years ago that black running back at Syracuse that followed him, the first black Heisman winner, was sacrificed by the numbers, and that was directly connected to Jim Brown. And something tells me he doesn't know, or he's aware that was no accident. So, yeah. I think these people know what they're invested in.
Oh man, what else did we have going on? Ooh, I wanted to show this one to you. This is one of my favorite from this week. So, we all know about the movie Major League, right? And there seemed to be a lot of clues for the 2016 World Series that people were looking at 2-3 years ago.
Right.
Something else really stood out at me when I was watching the Game 3 of the Milwaukee Brewers against the Colorado Rockies, the clinching game. And let me just punch this in here and pull up the box score. The winning pitcher for this game was this guy. Corbin Burns is his name.
Huh.
Wears number 39 for the Milwaukee Brewers. And I was like, Corbin Burns? like the first thing that popped in my head was Corbin Burnson. Because I looked around at my friends, I was like, doesn't that ring a bell? Like, isn't there an actor named Corbin Burnson? And there's like, yeah, he was in the movie Major League. I was like, oh my God, there's got to be something here, right? And what's funny about it is the main character in Major League is Charlie Sheen. He plays the closing pitcher, and he wears glasses on the mound, which isn't very common for pitchers. You know, they only wear them if they really have to. Most baseball players have like well above average vision.
Sure.
And
all I can think of just off the top of my head is Chris Sabo back in the day. He wasn't a pitcher though. So.
Yeah, well, this guy, Corbin Burns, not only does he have a name that's close to Burnson, but he also wears goggles. So I thought that was kind of interesting, but turns out there's a little more to this. And I'll just jump down to the most interesting thing. It's that in Jewish Gematria, the name Corbin Burnson equals 446. And if you measure from Corbin Burnson's birthday to Corbin Burns' birthday, it's 40 years and 46 days.
Wild.
I was like, what is going on?
Well, I think we know what's going on. These Manchurian athletes born and bred to be.
Right. Like, I'm picturing some sort of like, you know, like in Star Wars where those clone soldiers are coming out of the lower depths of the ocean. Is that where we're getting our baseball players from? It's so strange. As far as why the movie was filmed in Milwaukee, so the movie's about the Indians, but it was filmed in Milwaukee, Wisconsin. And Major League equals 108, alphabetic order. And in reverse reduction, Milwaukee, Wisconsin equals 108.
Huh.
Charlie Sheen's real name, Carlos Irwin Estevez, sums to 108 in reverse reduction and in single reduction. And he's the main character of the film Major League. So he's got that number a couple times. And what I thought was funny is that, okay, you got this movie about the Indians, right? In Milwaukee is where it's filmed, and in that stadium is where the Milwaukee Braves used to play. And the Indians, Brewers, and Braves are all in the playoffs this year.
Right.
And on the date 10/8, which looks like 108, like Major League, both the Indians and Braves got eliminated on the same day.
On Christopher Columbus Day.
On Christopher Columbus Day, right. The Native American teams.
And the score, okay, so the Astros eliminated the Indians 11-3. The two native teams got eliminated by the teams that faced each other in the 113th World Series. And the Dodgers eliminated the Braves 6-2. And then on Monday Night Football, that same day, the Redskins got wasted 43-19, a sum of 62 points, and the word genocide with the alphabetic order is 62. So,
I hope that's a coincidence. That's so sick.
It's not.
I know it's not. There's no way.
The record play for Drew Brees beating the. If you missed my video on how that was synced up with the Pope perfectly in the Catholic Church, you got to check it out. But Drew Brees' record play that night was 62 yards too. And after this play, they put up a stat that was the most open receiver all season on any touchdown reception, just adding to the mockery. So. Something else.
I love how they keep all those stats. And I love that StatCast equals 113, which is what they use in baseball to give us our stats.
That's awesome. It's like they're making them up on the spot.
They could be. Like, I remember the home run last year. There was like some kind of like 47 thing going on with the app. I can't remember, but the launch angle was 33 degrees. And I'm like, was it really? Is anyone ever going to correct them when they say that?
Right.
33 degrees.
Right.
Let's see. Oh, what I like about Corbin Burns, when he made his Major League debut, Corbin Burnson was 63 years and 306 days old, and the name of the character he played in the movie was Roger Dorn. Roger equals 63 and 36.
Major League is 63.
And yes, Major League 63. Brewers also 36. Another thing I was hoping was a clue for this World Series for the Brewers, because I still want to see the city like get there and hopefully win, but I don't see the coding for a win. Remember the movie Major League? It ended with the ALCS. Like they didn't actually win the World Series at the end of the movie. So I don't know if there's anything like, telling you who's going to win based on this movie. But anyways, the character that Corbin Burnson played in the movie was named Roger Dorn, which sums to 114 alphabetic order. Again, we're talking about the 114th World Series. The name Corbin Dean Burnson also sums to 162, just like Major League Baseball. So appropriate for him to be in a Major League Baseball film. Born in 54. Baseball sums to 54 in 2 ciphers.
Right. That's just like how Alex Smith, who played in Monday Night Football and got wasted on Columbus Day, it was his 162nd career game as well, just showing how scripted it really all is. Of course, Alex Smith was just traded from the Chiefs to the Redskins and played for the Utah Utes, who have the native tail feathers on their helmet, used to be called the Utah Redskins. So
yeah, someone in the chat just threw out that sports fields are using magic technology, and I don't know what to think. Like, I see stuff on the field that seems so well done. I don't know how they pull it off. And last night there was a ball. I was watching the baseball game for a little bit, and the Red Sox catcher threw a ball to second base, and it just had this odd tail on it. And I know that baseballs move a little bit when you throw them, just because they have seams and depending on which way it's spinning. But this baseball did not quite look natural. Like, it had this sick tail to it, and it landed right on the umpire's shoulder. Like, it hit him square almost. And you could tell it took him off guard. Like, he stepped out of the way, but it didn't matter. The ball just... And I didn't run any numbers on the guy or anything, but I just thought it was really suspicious. And what do you think, Zach? Like, when you're watching these games, because I 100% believe that in the NFL, the field goals, and I think, honest to God, I think the XFL was the big introduction of this technology. But those field goals, I don't think they bend like real footballs when you kick them. There's a little bit too much bend, and then a little bit too much late movement on some of these kicks. And I think if you look at the field goal kickers after they miss, after their ball gets blown wide, they just have this look on their face like, fuck it. Like, what do you think about that?
I definitely think they're using technology in football. I see it all the time with the kicks because, the late movement on the balls that doesn't look natural at all. I mean, we're deep in the game. There's sophisticated technology. They're ensuring scores and outcomes and all sorts of rituals. So I've been saying this for years. In terms of technology in the baseballs, it's possible. But I also know, I mean, most major league hitters can hit the ball over the fence nearly every single time if they have to, if they know what pitch is coming. I mean, Bryce Harper just showed that was the case in the home run derby. I forget how many home runs he hit straight there in less than a minute, but he's not even anywhere near the most powerful hitter in baseball. So.
All right, so I'm just browsing through my blog here. I want to see if there's any topics I wanted to discuss, if there's anything interesting. We had all that stuff with Kavanaugh. Oh, what I wanted to share with you quickly.
Oh, go ahead.
Just this story about 50 Cent. Did you see this?
Oh, right after UFC 229, the 50th prime?
Yeah, basically his full name sums to 2029, like 229 in Jewish Gematria. UFC 229 just wrapped up. 229, the 50th prime number. His name is 50 Cent. He owns part of Bellator, which sums to 50. And, of course, this is all coming off of UFC 229. My favorite part about this, though, is how the 229th verse of Revelation reveals the number of the beast as 666. Both beast and 50 Cent in Jewish Gematria equal 198. And on the date of this story, Khabib Nurmagomedov, who got the offer, was 10,980 days old, like 198. Bellator roster equals 198 in reverse. That's what the offer was for. So that's my favorite part. I thought that was slam dunk.
I don't know if you covered it or not, but I mean, just with the whole 50 thing, again, UFC 229, that's the 50th prime. Tickets went on sale for it on the 229th day of the year, 50 days before the event. Undefeated equals 50. McGregor equals 50. We saw Floyd Mayweather go undefeated 50-0 against McGregor. And now we saw Khabib do it a little more than a year later. What's interesting is the word defeated also has the Gematria 50. I was thinking McGregor was going to improve his record to 22-3 and come through with the upset. But like my buddy said, there was no way McGregor could beat Khabib. It would just look too fake. And I don't watch UFC, so I didn't know that. But I had a prediction with McGregor becoming 22-3 going back about 3 years. So I thought it was going to happen, especially after the whole UFC 223 shenanigans. And but yeah, I see the 50 ritual huge, and so no wonder we got 50 Cent offering Khabib the contract while he's undefeated after this. Yeah, it's just more evidence of what we already knew. Good work.
And don't you just love that $2 million equals 223?
Yeah, oh yeah, we've talked about that before with that rapper who released the album 223 on February 23rd, and he said it was because it took him 223 weeks to get $2 million.
Number 23, 223. I love it.
Yeah. The movie, The Number 23, starts on February 23rd.
Well, it came out on February 23rd.
Oh, and it also released on February 23rd as well?
It definitely released on that date. Yeah, I don't know when it starts. I didn't see it.
Okay, yeah. I was thinking in the movie that the first date is February 23rd. Maybe it's the release date, and I just forgot. I haven't looked at it for a while. Well, it begins with a dog named Ned. Ned with the alphabetic order 23.
Yeah. Yeah, it's pretty clear what they're doing in that one for sure. Let's see.
I love how often people troll and say, dude, you're like the guy from the movie Number 23. It's like one of the favorite troll comments. It's like, well, have you watched that movie and applied this code? I mean, should validate the research, actually.
When people tell me that, I show them my name Gematria. It's 203.
That's funny. Then they probably think you're really crazy.
And then I'm like, oh, look at my birthday. 6 + 4 + 8 + 5, 23.
That your name just has one letter in it? That's interesting.
Yeah. So the story is that my parents, they had a friend named Michael James Dorn, or maybe John Dorn, but he died while my mom was pregnant with me. So they named him after me, but they wanted to give me the initial to be like more specific and more of a tribute to it.
Not and that they because were big Michael J. Fox fans.
But because of that J, I have 130 in the reverse alphabetic order, which is a big reason I like the M on my hat, because it's it's technically my number. And my dad's name is 130 in that same method. So
what M is that for?
This is actually the old Milwaukee. I think it's the old Negro League hat for the Negro Leagues.
I see. Because I didn't recognize that M.
Yeah, which it never felt weird to wear it until I said it out loud. Like I'm wearing a Negro Leagues hat, like a white guy in Milwaukee, but I like the colors on it. It matches a lot of my clothes, so I always get props for it around the city. Like people love this style. So
nice.
Yeah.
Are you looking at the market at all right now? That's my biggest focus right now is what's going on with the market.
Well, CNN just threw up a headline about Saudi stocks plunging over fears of a sanction.
I'm watching for Monday, so I think it's Monday over there already. But a lot of signs point to this Monday for being a not so hot day for the market. So. Have you followed that Khashoggi story?
I haven't had a chance to. No, I missed out on this one so far. There's got to be some stuff here, right?
Well, I can tell you everything you need to know. So the story broke on a date with 59 Numerology. His name's Jamal Khashoggi. Jamal Khashoggi, of course, sums to 59. That date also had a numerology of 41. Just the surname Khashoggi alone is 41, just like Saudi Arabia. And it was just the latest story to feed into this narrative of the economy, because now there's all these variables that are setting up the house of cards. We got the trade war with China. We got the rising interest rates. We have the volatility with the tech companies and the stocks. And now we got Saudi Arabia making threats with their oil. So it's a full house here. And this date, Monday, tomorrow, has all the Dow Jones order out of chaos numbers and syncs up with the market collapses of 31 years ago, Black Monday, and also Black Tuesday from 89 years ago. So 31 and 89, they both connect to black. 89 is the 11th Fibonacci number. 31 is the 11th prime. Black has that gematria of 11. Black also has gematria 29, like October 29th, 1929.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, anyway, when you get a minute, check out the content I put out. I was trying to do a live stream reviewing everything today, but my live stream dropped. My internet connection went dead while I was just getting into it. But I'm glad I got off enough. I got off enough before they cut me. So
They always seem to cut me when it's just getting good. Like I'm just getting excited to talk about something. Then it all hits the fan.
Got to get to those good points quicker. Then you got to beat them to the punch.
Yep, I guess so. So that seems to be a big deal here because we've been seeing it coming. I know a lot of people in my Discord chat have been chiming in for a couple weeks now. Been talking about how the market's going to be tanking pretty soon, and it all happened on the right dates, and you just knew it was inflated this whole time. A lot.
Oh yeah, House of Cards. I mean, that was the biggest mocking. The House of Cards hit TV show about the presidency. Then you got Donald Trump, the Trump card, announced as the 45th president-elect on the anniversary of the fall of the wall, the Berlin Wall. And, of course, just this whole backstory. I mean, he's the rich kid born with the silver spoon in his mouth who squandered all of daddy's money and needed the taxpayer bailouts. And then you got him at Quicken Loans Arena. And right after he does his convention at Quicken Loans Arena, you got Quicken running the advertisement for Humpty Dumpty, who fell off the wall. So
that's right.
You know what I'm thinking of right now that I keep meaning to talk about that I haven't yet? Well, I've talked about it in the past, but it's probably been a year since I talked about it. The Bank of America Tower in Charlotte. If people don't know, all the banks are headquartered in Charlotte. It has the second most wealth in the entire nation out of any city. The most is New York, and then the second richest city is Charlotte because all the banks are headquartered there. But the Bank of America Tower in Charlotte has this weird portrait on the wall. Are you aware of this portrait?
Oh, yeah. So you're talking about the one with the eclipse, right? With the kid who looks like Trump?
Yeah, exactly. A chessboard, all sorts of things going on in that. And I think that kid is Trump. I think that kid's Trump. If it's not Trump, it's got to be his son, Barron Trump. But I think it's Trump in that picture. So, yeah, if you can load that up, it might be a good thing to look at right now. There it is. There it is.
Yeah, they've done this thing too. So there's this strange red rectangle in the top right corner. Well, if you take the half of his face that's in the red part and then mirror it over itself, it looks like a face again, but you can see it looks like he has devil horns. And you can kind of make that out just by like looking at there's a little bit of a red thing above his head. And
that's interesting.
Yeah, it's really creepy. And you have the cube of Saturn symbolism. You got
a burning tree.
Right.
You got people looking confused. You got a cube. Have we measured from the date of August 21st to Trump's 2/18 tweet? That's just something that's just coming into my head off the cuff.
Let me see.
August 21st, 2017. That was 409 days, which is the 80th prime. And 80 is a big Bavarian Illuminati and Synagogue of Satan number. That's interesting.
But it's 408 days without the end date, and 48 is the gematria of Donald Trump.
Of course, yeah, and Freemason and Illuminati. So we got a double Illuminati connection there, I guess, if you think about it. 409 is the 80th prime, which is Bavarian Illuminati and Synagogue of Satan, if I'm not mistaken. So.
Yeah, as far as the 49, okay, check this out. Hang on. The shooting in Florence, South Carolina happened on that same day. And remember, the eclipse was last seen in South Carolina, and It was 130 days after the South Carolina's governor's birthday. It was 13 weeks after Independence Day. 13 days after the first date they chose for the presidential alert, which was originally September 20th. And again, it was 13 months, 13 days after the eclipse. And if you write out 13, you get 99 and 117 in reverse. Florence, South Carolina equals 99 and 117 reverse reduction.
Huh. Interesting.
And, you know, I looked at the name of the guy who died in this shooting, also the shooters, and it's all tributes to Trump. So the name Terrence, who was killed, the name Terrence equals 88 ordinal. He was shot by Fred and Seth Hopkins, which equals 88 reduction. Trump, 88. Terrence also sums to 47, like president, like Trump. The date had double numerology of 22. The name of the victim, Terrence Caraway, equals 79, the 22nd prime. The gunman, Fred and Seth Hopkins, equals 790 in extended. So you so often see that, the name of the victim matching the name of the shooter. But what's interesting is that the word alert equals 79 in reverse. So does the word murder, 79. The last name Hopkins of the shooters sums to 34, just like alert in reverse reduction.
Very interesting. Yeah.
Yeah,
139, the 34th prime.
And he's just got like, the post gets old after a while. It's just Masonic numbers stamped all over these guys. The shooters, the name Terrence 448. I mean, it goes on, but I think it's pretty clear. Like, there's just too many numbers that line up nicely with this whole thing. And I'm sure you saw my tweet where it said how long the Queen has been the Queen on the date of the tweet. So let me just pull this up quick here. So on the date of the presidential alert, Trump, whose name equals 88, had been the president for 88.8 weeks. The Pope had been the Pope for 66.66 months exactly. And then the Queen had been the Queen for 66.66 years. All on the same date that we get that alert.
That reminds
Well, real quick, think about how it's Revelation 13:18 that reveals 666 as the number of the beast. This date was 1/3/18, like that verse.
Right. It also reminds me how Donald Trump's grandmother's named Elizabeth Trump, and she died on June 6th in the year 66. So.
Yeah, Elizabeth Trump in Satanic Gematria equals 666.
Of course she died June 6, 66.
She died on June 6, 66.
Oh, my. That is too much. For people who don't... When you use that satanic cipher, do you remind your viewers often what's significant about that cipher?
In my last stream, I did, yeah.
Because, I mean, it's pretty... Anytime I bring up that cipher, I always just tell people. I always assume there's somebody new watching.
Yeah, Satanic Gematria summing to 666. It begins with the 36th letter or number, which is, the 36th triangular number is 666.
Right.
That's a big one.
And it also ends with the 61st, which in fact is the 18th prime, which factors into 6 plus 6 plus 6. So a pretty clever cipher there, Satanic Gematria.
Yeah, in Revelation equals 1010 in Jewish Gematria. Elizabeth Christ Trump, born on 10/10/1880. So, and yeah, what do you know, right? On her 100, what would have been her 138th birthday.
Somebody in the chat pointed out that David Von Eyck is 666, David Icke's full name.
Oh, excellent. So yeah, on the date that Elizabeth Christ Trump would have turned 138 years old, remember Donald Trump equals 138, we had a stock market drop of 831 points.
And that was Trump's 119th day of his age. Donald 119 in the Jewish cipher.
That was also the day that Michael made landfall. Michael equals 138. Elizabeth Trump, 138 years old.
And it reminds of how Donald Trump was announced as the president-elect on November 9th, in light of it being Trump's 119th day that collapse happened. The date foreshadowed on the Economist cover. The thing about the Berlin Wall is construction started on the Berlin Wall August 13th, 13/8, like 138. And the other thing off that date is JFK died 831 days after August 13th. That was also in the year 61, which is the 18th prime, and here we are in 2018. When you start to look at all this stuff, it's proof of how the New World Order operates, and that all of these things are perfect rituals, just step by step in their planned agenda. It's like they have a century scripted out, and we're just living it out day by day. So.
Yeah, it's trippy, especially when you look back in the 1800s and you realize the same shit was going on. And it's like the further you look back, it seems like the more obvious it gets, right? Like this stuff in 66 on June 6th. I mean, really? And, you know, she died at 85 years old. Revelation sums to 850. Book of Revelation equals 85.
There's a big 85, but I can't think of what it is right now. Just 85 itself. I'm trying to think what it is.
I feel like it's a number that's definitely connected to Revelation. Book of Revelation also 185. It's just when there's Revelation numbers, it seems to be that's always somewhere.
Yeah. I don't disagree with that. There's some 85 number I can't think of right now. 85 word.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot.
But yeah, I think the market's going to be the big topic this week. Already, I mean, it's a big topic. I was thinking you were going to do more work on the market this week with everything going on. Are you aware of the Economist cover from January 9th?
Yeah, January 9th, 1988, they had a cover showing October 10th, 2018.
Well,
as the introduction to the world currency.
They like cleverly encoded the date.
Yeah, right.
And with a phoenix equals 91 and chaos equals 19. And again, if people got there and read Manly P. Hall's work, he says that this nation was founded by the Order of the Quest, and their symbol's the phoenix, and their mission's to bring about the one world order. So I also think about how Donald Trump had a lot of big convention dates in Phoenix while he was campaigning, in light of how everything's syncing up with him, the Trump card. So, did he have his first rally in Phoenix? Now that I think about it, after he announced he was running from the 58-story Trump Tower, he might have had his very first campaign rally there as well.
It's post-election. So let's see. Looks like they have a list.
Okay, I know that he had a big rally there on the day, leaving 88 days left in the year, but that was well into his campaign.
It was his second rally was in Phoenix, Arizona, July 11th, 2015.
July 11th, okay. Where was the first one then? Did he have it in his home state, New York?
No, it was in New Hampshire at Manchester Community College, June 17th. I think that was the day or two after he announced that he was running. And look at Manchester Community College equals 404 in the reverse alphabetic order.
Oh, go
Make
back,
America Great Again equals 404 reverse alphabetic order.
Very good. And 134. The 134 is the huge number. That's the one that's coded all over.
Yeah, 134. That's
Yeah, that number's all over his presidency. House of Cards is 134 too. But go back to that list you just had with his campaign rallies. That New Hampshire one was really tiny. The Phoenix one had a huge turnout. So I think the Phoenix one was like the first one that people knew about.
Sure. Makes sense. Yeah, you're right.
300 people versus 15,000. Because I remember that, and he had some other big stops in Phoenix along the way.
Yeah, Phoenix was big. Nevada was big for him. That's where the assassination attempts.
The 47 state. That's why.
Yep.
But yeah, that's why he was doing the Phoenix by the numbers so often. It was all part of this sick joke. So, have you checked out any of my work on August 11th, 2019?
I did. I finally watched that video a couple days ago, and it's it's like so convincing. It's like now nothing can happen, right? It's like we know.
Oh,
Like
I don't think they'll back off if that's the date,
this
man.
this is
But
crazy. Um, uh,
I don't know which video you watch because I've done a lot on August 11th, 2019 now. But more I find, it's just like the more that lines up, and especially the weird part that weirds me out the most is the San Francisco mayor, how she syncs up with that date. So
yeah. So about that a couple things I wanted to tack on there just to support it further, right? So the number 33 equals 156 and 141 in reverse, right? And we already had 9/11. That was so far the biggest terror attack on U.S. soil. And that happened in New York, New York, which sums to 156. And the 156 prime is 9/11, the date of the attacks. Well, then if you go back to 33 and see the 141, well, the city you're talking about, San Francisco, California, equals 141. And the 141st prime is 8/11, the date that we're looking at this time.
exactly,
And
exactly,
33,
yeah,
the ultimate false flag number, basically.
exactly. And it's 811 days from the day Trump went to the Western Wall to August 11th, 2019. So it's amazing the way it all lines up. It's perfectly synced up with Jared Kushner's 38th birthday too. It's 213 days after. Doma the Rock has that Gematria 213, and of course 38 and 213 both big death numbers. So
One other thing about the measurement between the date that Trump visited the wall to the date August 11th next year, it's a span of 116 weeks
right,
exactly, which is the 9/11
911
upside
upside down.
down. So there it is
Yep.
again.
Yes, indeed. So
I find it interesting too. This date, 8 plus 11 plus 20 plus 19 equals 58. And it's like no matter what you do, right? You have the first temple, or I'm sorry, that was Solomon's temple.
Solomon's, Herod's, and Third Temple are all 58. Like, and so is Jerusalem. Like,
Second temple equals 58. So does
it
Herod's
does.
temple 58. Third temple 58.
Yeah, Solomon's, Herod's, and Third Temple. I never
And
realized
second.
if you write out first, it sums to 58. Also, First Temple.
No, it's just Solomon's temple. I
Okay,
had
yeah,
it
I just
messed
saw
up. It's both Herod's temple equals
Solomon's
58
and Third.
and second temple equals 58.
Huh. And Third Temple, yeah.
Yep. It's all over the
Yeah.
place.
And now they got a coin with Trump, the winner of the 58th U.S. presidential election, him and the Third Temple on the same coin. And again, he was in Jerusalem. Jerusalem equals 58 for Jerusalem Day, um, which is synced up perfectly with that August 11th, 2019 date.
I got one more for you. Back to the number 58. The 58th triangular is 1711, and August 11th would be exactly 17 years and 11 months after 9/11.
Right, which is also the prime factorization of 187. And
Oh, that's right.
that was something that I looked at because again, 2018, this 17-year anniversary of September 11th, just so many things that are so fascinating about it. I can't remember them off the top of my head, but again, the Pentagon turned 77 years old. Its construction began September 11th, 1941. So 77-year-old Pentagon. And we had Zenith of the Alpha pointed it out, or maybe somebody pointed it out to him, but he made a video about it. In the classroom scene with Bush on 9/11, they're reading The Pet Goat, which has the gematria of 153, and it's on page 153, which is written on the whiteboard behind the teacher, which is the 17th triangular number. And I forget now what year of the Islamic calendar we're in, but it began this year on September 11th. And all the things that, outside of the numbers, all the things that line up for August 11th is it's Tisha B'Av, to remember the destruction of the two temples. It's the Muslim Day of Sacrifice, the Festival of Sacrifice. It's also the time of the Hajj, which is the Muslim pilgrimage to Mecca, the site of Kaaba. And there's one other thing. But yeah, there's just so many things that point to that date. And this whole thing with the red heifer and how the red heifer pointed to Tisha B'Av this year, which also points to Tisha B'Av next year. So for people out there, if you want to learn more about this August 11, 2019 date, I must have a playlist with at least 10 videos in it going all over all the pieces of evidence I've found that makes that date look like the date that they got big plans for us. And consider that's also 11 months after September 11th for another 11. But yeah, I think we're ahead of the curve. And this London breed, the reason she fits into the riddle, who's up on the screen, is because she's going to turn 45 years old on the day of August 11th, 2019. The Jewish prophecy is that the Jewish Messiah will arrive through the Golden Gate, and this coincides with the construction or the coming third temple. So, and I found this after I was already looking at the date, then I couldn't believe it because Golden Gate in 2 of the 4 base ciphers is 45. And if you just type bridge, it's also 45. We saw that bridge collapse at FSU by the numbers. Big 45 thing. But also think about her name, London Breed. Sounds like...
It's my favorite part.
It sounds like London Bridge.
Right.
And if you type in her name, London Breed, you'll see that it's 5454 in the 2 base ciphers. The reflection of 45, and the Masonic Latin motto for Order Out of Chaos is Order Ab Chao, which is also 54. It's also 63, but there's another 85 there, her full name. You know what else is 85? Phoenix, Arizona. I might have talking about Trump there just a second ago, but there's still some 85 that I can't think of right now. So... yeah, I think August 11th it's going down.
And
going to be big.
Just
big
to tack
news.
onto it, she's also the 45th mayor, turning 45
That's right.
on that date.
That's right. She is the 45th mayor. Yeah, one more. Trump's the 45th president. Let's not forget that Holy Bible's 45 forwards and backwards, and this is all part of a biblical prophecy.
So what I just thought to do here is measure from the FIU bridge collapse to this date, August 11th of next year. You'd like to think, I mean, there might be some sort of correlation there.
That's the 74th day of the year, the Ides of March.
Yep. So we have a span of 515 days. This is one of those, I think that's a Jesus number. What is it? Jesus equals 515. In prime numbers, 33 equals 515. May or may not be related. But what about what was the other collapse? We had the Genoa.
What's the word Messiah? Is Messiah 515 like Jesus?
I don't think so.
Okay, because that would be interesting if it was.
Yeah, it would be more interesting. When was that Genoa bridge collapse?
That was recent.
Yeah, that was
sometime in August.
August 14th.
It's very numerological.
Oh, and look at that. Look at this, Zach. 51 weeks and 5 days. I mean, I don't know. What are the odds?
Huh, that is interesting. Yeah, there might be something about 515 that we don't know. So, that is interesting. I don't know that number, though.
Oh, and look at this. Where was the other big bridge collapse in America? Minnesota equals 515.
Huh, that's really weird.
Jew equals 515. Babylon equals 515 in Jewish.
Well, we're building onto a puzzle here relatively quickly.
Cliff Eberhardt, 515.
Oh,
He's the one who lives in San Francisco.
There's some numbers that make sense to me. Jew and Babylon, because the Babylonians destroyed the first temple, and of course it's a Jewish temple, so that is making some sense. Keeper of Time connects that. That's interesting. Abrahamic religions. I mean, that's what this would fire up, is the Abrahamic religions. Goodness.
Yeah. That's wild.
I'm trying to think why they would collapse the bridge in Florida. I know that there's a Golden Gate in Florida. I don't know how close it is to where the bridge went down. That would be something to look into, how close that Golden Gate, Florida is to the site of the bridge collapse.
All right. Let's see. How do I do this? I can go. I'll probably do Google Maps.
Can't you just do a Google search, Golden Gate, Florida to Florida International University? I'll probably tell you how many miles it is.
Yeah, but I don't want to get like driving directions.
Oh, sometimes those are the most interesting.
I'll tell you what. You think so?
sometimes it's like, oh wow, that's perfect.
Huh. That's strange. I never thought even to do that.
I'm all about time efficiency, but yeah, this is probably a more even true measurement here. So,
Well, it's showing me 87 miles from center to center of the university to the
so it's very
city.
close. So they are very close to each other.
Oh,
That's what I want.
it could be 141 kilometers, which is interesting in light of San Francisco, California, 141, 811, the
Is it
141st prime.
Is it 141 kilometers?
Well, it's close. So the measurement I have here shows 140 and a half, but it's not pointing directly at the site of the collapse, which I don't know exactly where that is.
Yeah, so that I mean, and it is very close. 100 again, 811 is the 141st prime. So
Sure. So if the collapse was over here, like it could have been 141 kilometers. Tell you what, I'm getting curious. Hang on. So I think I can do these coordinates on Google Maps. Right. So that would be here. I guess there's a McDonald's right there in the center of Golden Gate. Yeah, man, it's almost exactly 141 kilometers if you measure to the center of the city.
sure. So I'm also just thinking about that date. So that date can be written 15/3 like 153, and FIU and Bridge are both 45. So 153 or 45. 153 and 45 are Bible numbers. Holy Bible in our base ciphers is 45 and 153. And this is all Bible prophecy here. And we know who's big in Florida. That they roll deep down there. So yeah, this is like looking like what this really was about. And that was pretty nice and in pretty quick time. We connected a whole lot of 515, and lo and behold, that connects to Jew and Babylon. So that's the beauty of the Gematria calculator. And I know we got some critics out there saying that the people who use it are just a bunch of idiots, but
well, I mean, this is one of those measurements that just blows my mind. I mean, I went from the exact spot of that freaking collapse, and I couldn't be measuring to much closer to the center of Golden Gate, Florida, right? And I also like how it's laid out like a cube, right? How many cities are just like a big square? But never mind that. Just if you point to the center, it's you have exactly 141 kilometers, the number we're talking about. So, holy
yeah,
smokes.
that is really something else. And kilometers is probably the more true measurement. I mean, that's what the majority of the world goes by.
Yeah, I've seen
what
both.
is it in miles as well?
87.62. So.
Okay, I'm getting the signal right now. I got to sign off.
That's cool because I really got to use the restroom and I got stuff to do. So I was kind of going to wrap it up soon anyway. But yeah, if you got to go, I mean, we just did a bunch of kick-ass work, and I think that's a good way to.
But before we go, Zenith is pointing out that the 74th day connects to Jesus. The other word that's 74 is Messiah, and that's the more appropriate word here for this decode, because that's the whole thing, that the Jewish Messiah, Jewish is 74 as well. The Jewish Messiah is supposed to arrive through the Golden Gate. So thanks, everybody. That was pretty cool. I mean, that was some good work there in record time. So
yeah, I appreciate it. I think kicked a little ass, but next time we'll take some more names.
There we go. All right. Later, all. You guys have a good day. Appreciate you tuning in.
All right, Zach. Thanks for being on, brother. Keep speaking that truth. We'll talk to you soon.
All right. Later, man.
All right, later.